Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're all healthy and safe at home. We are going to continue with our section, Chapter 2, Hilbert Spaces. So, in the previous class, we had just introduced what was meant by the Hilbert space, and it is defined to be a complete inner product space. And we had seen that P of xy was P of x, which was defined to be inner product xx whole raised to 1 by 2 was a norm. And also we had seen various properties of inner product, that is the inner product is continuous, and we had proved that parallelogram law, and we had proved the Pythagorean theorem. So in this section we are going to study about the space L2 of AB. Now, what is L2 of AB? We had learned in the previous section that L2 of AB is the completion of the space C2 of AB. And what is the form of elements in L2 of AB? It is nothing but an element in L2 of AB is a function x of t whose modulus square, that is modulus x of t square, has finite Lebesgue integral. Okay, we had learned about Lebesgue integration and all in measure theory. The elements in L2 of AB are functions whose modulus square will have a finite Lebesgue integral, that is integral of mod x of t whole square will be less than infinity. Now, what is the type of norm that we had defined? It is integral a to b mod x of t whole square is equal to norm x square. That was the norm we had defined in L2 of AB. Now, what we are going to do is we are studying about inner product spaces in this chapter. So, we had seen in the previous section that inner product is continuous, and since L2 of AB is the completion of C2 of AB, what we are going to do is we are going to extend the inner product which we have seen or which we have defined for C2 of AB. We had done it as an example to the space L2 of AB. That is because of the property that inner products are continuous. Now, the inner product is defined as follows. That is, if we have two elements, then x and y of L2 of AB, the inner product is inner product xy is equal to integral a to b x of t into y of t conjugate d of t. This is how we define the inner product in L2 of AB. So this is all about the space L2 of AB. It is a very important Hilbert space. So these are the few properties that we must keep in mind, or these are actually not the properties. This is the inner product which is defined in the space L2 of AB. Now, next we have a corollary 2.1.3. What is the statement? Let us see. The corollary states that if set EI, where I varies from 1 to n, is orthogonal and normalized in H, where H is the Hilbert space. Now we are discussing about Hilbert spaces, and we denote it by the capital letter H. So if set EI is orthogonal and normalized, then the statement is norm of summation I equal to 1 to n alpha I EI is equal to summation I equal to 1 to n mod alpha I square whole raised to 1 by 2. So the proof of this corollary is pretty much simple. What we have to do is, let us keep in mind, or let us see what is given to us. We are given that the set EI is orthogonal. And one more thing which is given is that it is normalized, right? And what is meant by normalized? Normalized means that the norm of each element, norm of EI will be equal to 1. This is the meaning of normalized or normal, normalized or orthonormal. So these are the things. Now when EI is orthogonal, inner product EI EJ where I not equal to j, I not equal to j is equal to 0, right? So these are the two things that we have in mind, and we need to show that norm of summation alpha I ei, where I varies from 1 to n, is nothing but summation I varies from 1 to n mod alpha I square whole raised to 1 by 2, right? So let us see how we can move about it. Let us take norm of summation I equal to 1 to n alpha I ei square. Okay, now just recall what was the Pythagorean theorem state. It stated that if x and y are orthogonal, then norm x plus y square equal to norm x square plus norm y square. So let us write this as, just expand it and write, it will be alpha 1 e1 plus etc. up to alpha n en whole square, right? Now let us take this first term to be x and the remaining terms to be y. What we are going to do is we are going to apply Pythagorean theorem again and again. So if this is x and this is y, what will be by application of Pythagorean theorem? What can we say? We can say this is alpha 1 e1 square plus alpha 2 e2 plus etc. plus alpha n en square, right? Now by the norm property, this is constant, so we get modulus alpha 1 common and square into norm e1 square plus the second term, again we will consider this to be x and the remaining terms to be y and apply Pythagorean law again. So what we get? We get norm alpha 2 e2 square plus norm of alpha 3 e3 plus etc. plus alpha n en square. So now we know it is normalized, the set is normalized, so this value is 1. So this will be mod alpha 1 square, and from the second term again by norm property mod alpha 2 square will come out common and we get norm e2 square, that will be again norm e2 is again 1. So like this proceeding again and again we get up to alpha n square. So from this what do we get? We get norm summation alpha I ei. We have taken the square, so to remove the square we are going to take square root on both the sides. We will get this as summation mod alpha I square whole raised to 1 by 2, where I varies from 1 to n. So this was the proof, which is very simple. We just had to apply the Pythagorean law again and again. So that is how we can prove our corollary 2.1.3. So that's it for today's session. Thank you. Stay home and stay safe.